I would like to give the floor over to Lisa to talk about making lemonade and rescuing your photos.
Okay, hi everyone. Are we good on the screen?
Yes, we can see you. We
Okay,
can see your slide.
okay, great. Well, when Spike wanted me to speak, and I'm sorry about last April, I was kind of in between both of my parents passing and COVID and everything else. So now that that's all kind of passed, my story is like many others. I was laid off in my mid 50s. And at the time, taking another newspaper designer job seemed like an exercise in chasing butterflies. So I had a professional resume writer take a stab at making my skill set something that would interest other employers. A nice try. But after being told that I was too old for several jobs, I knew that I had to dig deeper to find work. So I started a freelance business doing web and print design, but my heart was never in it. I never learned how to sell myself. I went for newspaper jobs and I got hired.
How
But
long how long did you work for the Plain Dealer doing as a photojournalist? Because you haven't. Maybe you're going to get to that, but I'm kind of curious about that because that's an interesting background.
I was at the Plain Dealer for 13 years I tap danced between departments as a designer. I did the big projects. I did a lot of photo editing, but I was in newspapers for over 35 years. I started when I was 19.
Wow.
Um, and the word newspaper should be the clue why I'm still not doing it. Transitions aren't easy, and this one was proving harder than I thought. I wasn't able to be part of last April's the CD Pug program artistic transition but as I prepared for this program, I realized I wish I had heard Sue Nelson's advice a few years ago. She mentioned the 4 stages when you are faced with reinvention. 1, grief. When I got laid off, I told people I didn't just lose my job, I had lost my profession. Sounds like grief to me. 2, processing your options. As I said, I entered this phase by revamping my resume and hiding my age and depth of experience. I applied for many jobs using the keywords for computerized HR process at most companies and began networking. I still got kicked out after they realized how old I was, but 3 was learning. What did I need to learn to to be relevant in the workplace? Which led to some soul searching about what I wanted and, more importantly, what I didn't want. And her 4th process is reorienting. I have found in the past that when facing a problem, I would close my eyes and look for solutions. In this case, I started following the signs that were coming in my direction. About 10 years ago, I worked with my parents and created a family history book that represented 6 generations of photos and their stories. When it was printed, I took the book to work, and one of my trusted newspaper colleagues loved it and told me that I should do this for other people. I thanked him for his kind words, but I couldn't imagine how I could go about doing it. So I put it on the back burner. Why would anyone pay to have someone organize his or her photos? About 5 years ago, a friend of mine from college, a fellow Bobcat that had studied visual communications like I did, called and said that she had a crazy idea, one of her many, and she wanted to tell me about it. She had found an organization of photo organizers, and their annual conference was being held in Cleveland in a few weeks. Did I want to go? I did some research and agreed to go to the 3-day conference. As a family photographer, I had been recipient of every dead relative's photo mess, so maybe I could get a few tips on how to manage my own. Project is a polite word for all the frigging unorganized boxes I had been given as gifts from departed family members. Plus, I have a master's degree in photography, so add all the photos that I had amassed over the years to the mess. The conference was a giant light bulb for me. Wow, people make a living at doing something I get pleasure doing. Creating a visual legacy to pass down to other generations is the greatest gifts I could think that you can leave your family. The Photo Managers is an organization started by former scrapbook makers, so I had a foot up since I had a background in design and photo editing. The organization has a great learning library and a variety of talented organizers that are forthcoming with information about how to go about starting a project or turning your passion into a business. Why not give it a try? What did I have to lose? Well, one thing I can tell you now is that I had a lot to learn. I had no idea that photos, slides, movies, videos came in so many different formats. One thing that was stressed at the conference was to pick your specialty area and stick with it. Some photo organizers specialize in doing only digital projects. I try to keep up on the digital changes from Apple and Android phones, but what I love are the photos at the bottom of the boxes, the photos that only a few have seen, and even fewer know the stories behind the images. I was working on my project this week and found just real gems. Cash flow and ailing parents meant that my new idea had to be done in my spare time, and therefore took longer than I had wanted, but that's how life goes. I studied what the seasoned photo organizers had to say and started working on my business plan. Luckily, I could do my own marketing and design work, but as we know, it is time consuming. Developing the name and the brand was a refreshing task since it was only my opinion that counted. After all, there are over 1.7 trillion paper photos stored in albums, attics, shoeboxes, and less than 1% of printed memories have been transferred to digital. These facts seem to point in the direction of a revenue stream, so I formulated my business plan based on the demographics of who hires photo organizers. Mostly women between the ages of 50 to 75, wanting help making sense of their photo messes. The website for my new business was done. The print material was ready to go. I had a networking plan formulated, and then COVID happened. Crap. Not only did people not want strangers in their homes, my freelance clients closed up shop, and I had to lay myself off from my design job. I had time on my hands, so I began working on my own photo mess to develop workflow options, what filing systems worked and which ones didn't, what software made the most sense to purchase, and then learn how to adapt them to the photo organizing projects. Photo organizing begins with organizing what you have. The males in my family loved cameras, and I have so many different formats and bins of photos. I began sorting them by type: Polaroids, stereo slides, large format slides, prints varying from 2x2 prints to yard-long images, and the thousands of double takes, prints that were still in their drugstore envelopes. I did all the rules. Did I need all these photos, or should I start to use the Photo Manager's ABC rules? The first rule is don't spend time organizing things you don't want, you don't need, or you're not going to use. Give yourself permission to downsize. I filled at least 3 dumpsters, and probably 4 dumpsters. Not driveway size, but the big ones from Cuyahoga County that could fit Jimmy Hoffa.
Sorry.
Here are the ABC sorting rules from the Photo Managers. A stands for photos that you'd give an A. These are the photos that are the most important to you. They should be scanned and then sorted and put into archival containers. Excuse me. B stands for photos worthy of putting in a box. These are the photos or the ones that you would rather not pitch because they still mean something to you. C stands for photos to toss in the can. I had a big bin in my basement that I use as a trash can, and I used that for this project, figuring that if I tossed something out, I could go back and retrieve it if I had a second thought whether or not I really wanted to delete that image. I really haven't found myself going back into that box. Well, it's cleaned out now, but and the duplicate photos, I sorted those out as I was going through everything, and I bought an art bin out off of Amazon, and I gave each one of my nieces and nephews the duplicates that were in those piles. Kind of, I wanted to give them a photo box that they had that they could also add photos to as well. And as are the photos that tell a story. These are the photos that have meaning to you, even if they're poor quality. You know, capturing that moment, you know, just things you don't want to get rid of, or things that could use to be told to tell a story. This is how I sorted out my grandmother's photos. Once you have everything sorted, okay, and then you have to come up with what kind of filing system that you want. I tell people to close their eyes. I do that a lot. And imagine what a file cabinet would look like if the photos were in there. What makes sense by your family? Then I had to ask myself, what filing system did I want to use? Chronologically, by person, or by holidays? What made sense as I sorted all the photos was to sort by person and file them chronologically by birth date. I also have some general files that I have list within that general file, say like Christmas. I have 1920, 1930, you know, and some of them are best guess, but some of them I've looked at, you know, what people are wearing. And, you know, I know that my grandmother's silver Christmas tree with the rotating light she had in the late 50s and early 60s. Come on, sorry. Once everything was sorted, I began scanning the various formats. And as I went along, I made sure that I followed the 1, 2, 3 backup process. I'm sure Spike is well familiar with this. The 3, 2, 1 backup rule. You need to have 3 copies. Keep 3 copies of every important file. These can be on your computer, an external hard drive, or a cloud-based storage option. Make sure you have 2 backups. Keep the files on 2 different media types. When you store your originals on one device and a copy on a second device, you will have immediate access to a backup if one of those devices fails. Now, I know with the 3 copies that not everybody is comfortable using a cloud storage option. I fought it for years, but I finally have acquiesced. But you also can just make sure that you have everything backed up, and you can put it on an auxiliary hard drive and then store it offsite. Bank storage box is fine. I used to send it out to my brother who lives in Chardon, and he put it in a safe. The 1 stands for offsite storage. Keep 1 copy stored offsite. This option, okay, as I said that. If you use a cloud-based service, invest some time in researching and be mindful of what rights you may be signing away. Cloud storage free isn't always best. You may pay for the permanent storage, but it's worth it. Excuse me. I use forever.com as my photo storage, and I share that it allows me to share photos with family and friends. You buy permanent storage that only you and whoever you deem necessary to have access to it. They also don't condense your images. You know, when I hear that people store their images on Google, well, first of all, they've cut back on the amount of storage you can have. Excuse me. And then they also compress your images. There are other companies like SmugMug that are worth taking a look at. I use Backblaze for my full offsite computer backup. Forever.com and Backblaze are affiliates with the photo managers, and I never hear anybody ever kvetching about problems with those companies. My personal project is still a work in progress. I have over 22,000 images digitally filed and still have about 25,000 prints to scan and organize. My goal is to put all the images in my forever storage and then share it with family and friends. The nice thing too about Forever, and I don't want to be, this isn't an ad for them, but they also allows you to retain all the rights to your image, and I can leave the account to my nephew in my will, and he can take over the account. The other thing that's good about that company is, as we're on the cusp of JPEGs sort of going out and HEC coming in, Forever will convert your images when it becomes the norm. So whatever the new norm is, they will convert your images for you. The good news is that my website is generating clients thanks to the SEO work that I did. However, that means that I have to relegate my family project to my spare time. It took my family over 150 years to take all the pictures that will be included in our visual legacy. So if it takes me a bit longer to finish my project, oh well. If I can help others at the same time do the same for their families, it's worth the delay. Does anybody have any questions? Can
I have a question, which I put into the chat. Are you done with your slides, or are you taking a pause?
I am done.
Which is better for relaxing your stressed out clients? Wine, gummies, or hugs?
Well, with COVID, I can't say hugs. Gummies, do they have HTC in them?
Yeah, I guess that's the implication, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, probably. Basically, I kind of just tell them is like, listen, don't sweat it. You know, I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, take a look how long it took for that photo mess to accumulate itself. I think the big thing is just, it's really kind of, I don't know why people think that they can't throw away their pictures. You know, if they're out of focus, get rid of them. If, you know, unless it's something really, truly special. But, oh, there goes Nellie.
It's hard because you're responsible for them. You know, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can't. But you're responsible for passing along. I mean, if I showed up to my nephew's house, who's going to be the executor of my will, with 6 carloads of crap, it would never get done.
That's what my sister did to me. And all of a sudden, she didn't want to do the 8-track. She didn't want to do the 4mm. All my family pictures and albums were barfed on to me. And I was just like, what do I do with these? You know, it was awful. And I still have them. I don't know what to do with them.
Well, the thing is, though, too, is that you kind of have to step back a minute and realize what's on them may not be worth saving. I mean,
I know.
in that my dad had 3 boxes. I mean, he had a size 10 shoe of diskettes. Spike, do you know how many photos can fit on a diskette?
Not that many. I mean, at least compared to now, but you know, enough to be a project.
7 to 10, and they're low reses. Most of the images were about 72K.
Okay.
Oh my.
Wow.
Now, according to Pinterest, I can take those diskettes and make them into pencil holders for everybody in the family.
I want one.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I started doing that. I was like going, I looked at probably a shoebox worth. And I realized, you know what? There's nothing on here worth saving.
But you just don't know that when there's like 8mm and 16mm. And some of it is my father shooting a golf ball 9,000 times. There's also us like opening Christmas presents. You know what I mean?
I gotta say that I have not done. My dad did convert some of my grandfather's movies. Now, my father was a cop by profession, but loved pictures. But sorry, Pop. He had quality was not part of his process. He wanted it just wasn't. And so he had taken a stab at trying to scan stuff and had done the conversions of the movies, but the quality was so bad. And then when my grandmother died, my aunt, this is my story, but it sounds familiar in a lot of places. My aunt went in and basically hoarded a lot of the boxes from my grandmother's house, including the movies. She let them sit in her garage for almost 25 years, and it was weatherproofed.
Right.
And right now, if you open up that tin of movies, it's a mold bomb.
Oh.
So it's sitting in my garage now because I don't want that mold bomb in my house. But, it's like with the diskette reader. My feeling was, and this is because I'm building a business on this, if I could purchase something off of Amazon, sorry for those people who don't like Amazon, but these days it's just easier. I bought a diskette reader for $15. If a client's got a bunch of diskettes and they're convinced that the Mona Lisa is on there, I can, bring over the diskette reader and show them, if she's a photo stamp and it's not worth it. But I also bought a movie viewer, one of those crank ones off of eBay. So basically I've kind of gotten, some things to view things. I can view almost anything.
So you don't take things to like, you can outsource all that stuff. My thought was put it all in a box, send it out to one of those places that can read it and have them put it all on a DVD.
Well, the problem, Spike will tell you, DVDs are pretty much on their way out. I mean,
oh, Spike.
You want to make sure that that you're not creating another layer.
Right.
You kind of do when you do that. I've done it many times, and you're right about that, Lisa.
Right.
No, but the thing is that if there's no other way to digitize a VHS or a beta, because I've got two machines that can do that, they can record from a VHS.
Right.
At least you can do that, and the other layer is just ripping the DVD.
And then you can
at least do that
Mm-hmm.
and walk away. I mean, you can do that and do something else.
Right.
And you can at least see what's on them, so you
Right.
could make a decision about, okay, this one.
And once you rip it, you edit it. That's a whole video is a whole different ballgame than photos.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
I do
you
have
need
someone,
one-
however, that does this. If anybody needs information about that, let me know. Lisa, if you need a resource for that, let me know. And
I do,
he's
Mary.
an old school guy, and he's good.
I
Yeah,
need
Mary
beta
said,
test.
yeah. You might want to put that in chat right now. I think we'd all
Right.
like to.
I
Yeah.
can suggest a couple things. Like, first of all, you only need one picture of your dad golfing. You don't need thousands of them.
No, that's
And-
my whole point.
Yeah, so just pick one that you like, or even like a few, like maybe a young dad golfing and a middle-aged dad golfing and an old dad golfing or something like that. Or
But it's not a photo. The photos I have no problems with. It's the video.
of a video.
Because oh my God, I don't know if this is us chopping down a Christmas tree or my dad asking my mom to to tape him to see if his swing got better.
Well, the one thing is that several of the libraries around town, I know that Westlake's got a viewing spot. I know South Euclid's got a viewing spot. Go into the library with your VHS and see what's on them.
Yeah, the one in
Do
South
they
Euclid, the South Euclid Library, they call it the Memory Center, which I always think of like, dementia or something like that. But it's called the Memory Center, and they have the capabilities to help you convert stuff there. Mary has stuff, but I don't think she would do it for you and want to lend it out, but she could probably give you tips. I mean, how much of that do you do, Lisa?
I don't do the video right now. I haven't had, there's two photo organizers here in town, and the other one, she specifically does mostly video. So I outsource it to her. I mean, but the problem is what Peggy, you were saying, that as far as sticking it in a box, Legacy's got boxes that you can purchase and stick stuff in, and they'll send it back. But first of all, you're sending it in via the postal system.
Right.
We don't need to have a long discussion about that. And they'll send you back the mess you sent them.
And that's what I don't want to happen. Right.
Right. So.
But that's a great idea. Who said that? Like Westlake, like the Porter Library?
Yeah, the Porter
You
Library has.
can go in there and you can view your stuff.
Right.
Wow.
Oh,
I would call ahead, just like everybody right now. I don't go anywhere unless I call ahead to make sure that they're open. That stuff.
I know. No, I know
working.
Porter Library is open.
Oh yeah, I love Porter Library.
It's not easy being a librarian now. You have to know a ton of stuff besides books.
Yeah.
I love librarians. Neat.
I'm going to email my friend and tell him that he may be getting some arbitrary emails.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mary,
I'd rather
did
do
you-
local than the legacy thing.
Did
He did a job that Andrea and I worked on for her family for years. It took and the reason it took so long is because, just time to a lot to do it. It was a combination of photos and video and 8mm. And we had to convert the 8mm to, of course, to digitize it. And so it just took, like you were saying, Lisa, doesn't happen overnight. It really doesn't. And especially depends on the length of the project. We ended up with 2 DVD sets to get to share with family, but it took years to get it finished.
Right. And part of, I see Henry's here. There's just so many different angles to this that I don't want to drive myself crazy. I'm not I've used Macs for a long time and I know the systems, but I just don't pretend to know it all. I just don't, I mean, basically what I'm finding is right now that I get a number of phone calls from people wanting their photos restored, and I've also learned a really helpful trick with that is I have them take a picture with their iPhone of the photo before they drop it off to see whether or not I can fix it.
Sure.
Because some people's photos are so mismanaged. They're like, I want this picture of my mother restored. Well, it's a picture of her as a baby and there's only this much of her face.
Yeah.
The hell am I restoring? I'm creating, I spent 5 hours one day working on a photo for a client. I told him it would only take an hour, so I was eating the time. And there were 6 rips in and around her mouth. And I thought I'd done a pretty good job of piecing it back together. It's first thing, that's not the way my mother's mouth looked like. I'm like, dude, you gave me no reference, So you kind of have to watch with that, which is why, like right now, I'm not doing VHS because part of the problem with VHS, they've been so inactive for so long. your chances of actually running them and them not breaking and falling apart are pretty slim. And the key is too, if it smells like vinegar, they've already gone off the deep end.
Oh,
Some people are pretty good about storage, though. We are here, and we got stuff that you would be amazed.
Right. You
But
know,
not
and then I've
everybody's like
got,
that.
you know, I just ordered some paper from Amazon that's supposed to hopefully, excuse me, I've got a bunch of photos that weren't properly stored. And I got to tell you, for the most part, you get a photo that was taken before the, you know, in the late 1800s,
Yeah.
chances are it's got mold on it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm trying to figure out a way to store those that I'm not throwing them away, but I'm not sure that they aren't going to be able to be pitched.
oh.
Which will break my heart, because like one of them was my grandfather and his brother when they were like 3 and 2, and then their baby brother was in the photo and the baby died 20 days later. So you kind of hate to throw away that photo. I mean, it's scanned in and I scanned it in at high res, but
Well, why is that important to you to have the original? I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, as long as you can preserve it. Yeah, okay. I don't have the original, but why is that important to you? If it's already moldy.
well, his parents also died and he grew up in an orphanage. So it's like one of the few, it's really the only family photo we have of them.
But you preserve the.
I have
photo.
it, you're right. And those are the dilemmas that I reach with my clients too. It's like sometimes you just can't take the claw off of the,
Right.
you know. And like I said, right now it's in a Ziploc bag. You know, next month, hopefully I'm going to get to putting them in their archival storage boxes and finish up the project, knock on wood. And that probably will end up going. Or I'll have a side box that I can seal up and just mark, you know, mold bombs.
No.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, it's, you know, there's a couple of them that it's going to be a little hard to let go of.
No, I get it. I totally get it.
Lisa, how would you advise someone to organize many digital photos on their iPhone? Use folders, albums?
Spike, that's yours.
I have lots of tips on that. I mean, the digital stuff, I know the tools really well. The organizing part, like I would want to defer that to Lisa. But I know about how to merge libraries if you have like old photo, like, you know, multiple libraries that got super disorganized that are out of control. I know about utilities that will help you find your duplicates and remove them. Tips on like how to get rid of the extra images that are in your bursts so you can just keep the one photo. And I think of it like, you know, I try to put things with analogies for designers. Like when you have a presentation, like when you're doing an annual report or brochure, you want white space, and you need that with your images as well. If you have too many images, it's like trying to cram as much type onto a page as you can, and you can't really tell your story. But I know about Gemini 2. There's a program called Power Photos. It's really good. I like the icon. It looks like one of the robots from WALL-E. What was the girl robot in WALL-E that was Eva, I think.
Yeah.
Eva.
Yeah, it looks like her. So I know a bunch of the tools, and I can show people how to use it. But then you still have to like actually follow through with the organizing.
I use albums on my cell phone, but honestly, I try not to personally keep too many photos on my phone, and I don't really recommend people doing that. It's just, I don't do my personal banking on my phone. It's just too transient. I mean, anybody could take your cell phone and there's everything's
Yeah,
gone.
but it syncs to your Mac, so you could do it on your Mac. It's the same thing.
Yeah, iPhone photos goes everywhere. Any Mac, any Apple device, it'll go to all of them.
Right.
So you can organize them on any device and it'll come up the same way on each device.
And I also think using keywords is really helpful because then you could, it's like basically it makes your images like a cross-relational database. So you could have
Face
a keyword
recognition.
for like, in-laws or kids or hot birthday parties, and you can find things lots of different ways.
Do it by
And you can
year.
do keywords in the Photos app.
Mhm.
And then actually the Photos app now analyzes all your pictures for you. You can look for sunsets, fences,
Mhm.
boats, dogs, cats. You just stick them in there, it finds them. It's amazing.
There you go, Judy.
Sounds like a plan. I've got like 10,000 photos.
Spike, one of the people that you sent me was looking to try to get rid of some of her duplicates. And one of the program that I use for that is Photo Sweeper by Apple. It's like $9, no, $9.95, but it does a really, really good job of trying to clean stuff up and get rid of and detecting the duplicates. And
You
put
want to
them
have a
before
backup
you.
first, but that I'm not familiar with that one, but I'm sure it works fine. Gemini 2 is from MacPaw. It works really well because it will find similar images. So might be when I always think at restaurants people take pictures of everybody when they're leaving, and you might have 10 pictures of the same group, but you just need to pick one for that has their eyes open and they're smiling. And there's so many people do bursts accidentally. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm still doing that.
And I did add a link to an ebook. There's a nice book series, kind of like it's called Take Control, and it's the Dummy series is sort of, I think, kind of insulting and a little simple, but the Take Control is a little higher level than that. They're all digital, and it's called Take Control of Your Digital Legacy. So it has to do with things like digital will and preserving your data, like so your accounts can be read by your kids, or so it's more than just like photos, but it's related to the same thing. Should you write an auto obituary? I guess I didn't know there was a thing called an auto obituary. So I guess things like that.
Oh, those people that will come to your house and do your whole, you could do your whole visual logo, you could they'll videotape you telling your stories and your will. And
actually, a very nice idea is to do a 5-minute showcase like we do in May. I did it for a friend of mine who was very, she went to the March on Washington with Martin Luther King. She helped found Planned Parenthood here in Cleveland. It was like when her husband passed away, it was like senators were wanting to be there for the service. And she actually made a 5-minute showcase telling her life story that they showed at her funeral, at her memorial service. And it was neat to see her telling her story and her voice narrating. And it was 20 slides, 15 seconds of slides, just like we do at the showcase. It was the same thing.
Nice idea.
yeah, I'm working on my will now too.
Me too.
Lisa, may I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I may have missed it. I don't think I did, but I may have missed it. You said, like everybody else who's a graphic designer, marketing yourself is a challenge. And you had somebody take a stab at your resume, did you say,
Yes.
at some point? And then, so from that, you obviously went on your own, trying to get a job elsewhere. You then went on your own. How did you say this already, or can you tell us how did you market yourself to get yourself, kind of on the launching pad?
For freelancing?
No, for your business.
This one right now,
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a lot of speaking. I've got 5 talks coming up with the Cuyahoga Library System. I've been doing some locally in Lakewood. I did the Westlake Library. Tell you, the SEO is working really well with my Squarespace website.
I was gonna say, is that how it's getting the word's getting out? For you?
Yes.
Okay. So Squarespace has worked for you.
Right.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, it's just been kind of, in trying to launch anything in COVID. I mean, it's been tough, but Slowly people are coming. Spike has sent a couple people my way. Some of them have worked out, some of them haven't, you know. And everybody's got their own time frame with this too. Like I had a client that I scanned a few things in for, and then he had me come back and I scanned a lot more for him. And then he said he was going to go write a book, and he disappeared for over a year during COVID. And this June, he came back and he had the book done and he wanted me to lay it out. And we used mixed books, and he's happy as a clam. And, some of this too, as much as, we all kind of dread and keep the boxes in the basement and put it on our to-do list. It's funny. I'm just seeing it kind of like spin an evolution of like, okay, I really need to do this. So I really need to do this. I really need to, I found that in the summer, people wanted more photos restored. Now that it's getting to be winter, I'm getting people coming wanting more organizing help.
Interesting. I dug into mine with COVID. Because my business tanked. I really didn't have anything going on. I had a little bit going on, but not much. And it was kind of great because I finally got to it. It's the back burner, put it on the back burner type thing, just like you just said. And I dug in, man. I didn't quite fill 3 dumpsters, but I did. I got through it, and it's hard. It's trying to figure out how to devise a way that's good for you, or to individualize it to the person as to how they're going to organize it, what makes sense to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tell people to make sure that you're restoring those photos in archival quality boxes.
Yep.
I use Pioneer boxes from Amazon that you can get on Amazon. Archival Method has a lot of great boxes, but they're a little too big and cumbersome for me. I'm really klutzy. And I like the idea of the shoebox that I can tie something around. Like the Pioneer boxes on Amazon, they're more manageable.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with Pioneer boxes.
Yeah,
Boxes
probably
I got years ago, and they're pretty good size. They cover most regular normal photographs. We're talking about photographs that go from like, I don't know, the 50s to now. And or the 50s to like the 2000s, and it had tabs and stuff like that. So the box was probably about maybe 3/4 of the size of a shoebox.
But are they archival?
I don't know. I don't think so.
See, that's the problem. You're just storing it in something that's got acid in it. And, acid was good in the 60s, but it ain't good.
But they're photo boxes, so they might be. And we did get them from Amazon. So I don't know. I have to go look, to be honest with you.
Right.
But they're kept in my closet up here. So none of the stuff that I've ever had gets stored in any dampness or any drastic heat changes or humidity changes. Nothing. It's dry and cool everywhere they sit.
Well, and let me put this in, you go to Michael's and you can get those little picture boxes, and every once in a while they have, I know. But if you're just starting out and you have 50, the ones that you have to tear them open and pull them all out, at least you can put those and say, okay, this is 1963, this is 1978, and you can at least file them and then go back. And if you need to archive them, fine. If there's this fantastic picture of you and grandpa, great, do something else with it. But everything else, why would you spend a lot of money on archival boxes? I don't get that, because that's what I did. Mine are all in Michael's boxes.
I'm on both sides of this coin, because it depends on the pictures.
I know.
If you have any kind of acidic materials going against these pictures, Lisa's right on.
No, I get it.
Yeah. But for organizing reasons, again, I'll have to go look in my closet, which is right there, by the way.
Yep. Well organized, we might add.
Yeah. Take a look at what I used, but it wasn't a permanent thing. It was just for the purpose of organizing.
Well, when I started amassing stuff for the business, I went to Discount Drug Mart, DDM, and I bought like 60 plastic boxes.
Right.
They're not archival, When I'm doing massive short sorting, I put the stuff in Ziploc bags with little pieces of paper in it. You know, they've
did
ended
that
up being in those boxes and in those Ziploc bags longer than I would have liked them to be, but they're otherwise properly stored. I mean, as far as I store mine in my basement, but I have no water down there. It's right by the heater. You know what I mean? I live in a 100-year-old house. I don't have a whole lot of storage options, but you know, and it's okay down there. I mean, eventually when I'm done, and hopefully in the next couple of months, everything will be put in the boxes. And as far as throwing some of this stuff away, yeah, you're right. They're digitized. We shouldn't need them, but you know what? I can't get rid of everything.
Right.
My goal is to take the vast majority of those 6 carloads worth of crap, plus my stuff, and put it in 4. Container Store has a locking waterproof container that for about $15 it fits 4 of those Pioneer shoe boxes. And my goal is to get no more than 4 of those boxes, and some of that's going to be the oversized stuff and the genealogy books that I'm finding at the bottom of boxes, down to 4. And then I'm going to give the pictures to my brother and sister of their family and their kids, so that I'm only going to be left with 4 small bins of photos left. And then that'll be kind of the
This is the
family
box.
legacy. I think that's a Pioneer box.
Carry it.
Mary, I think that looks like a Pioneer box. Google Pioneer. I mean, not Google. Look on Amazon for Pioneer archival boxes. You look like that's what that is.
So Lisa, I have a question
Like
for
I said,
you.
it holds
Oh,
just
wow.
Yeah.
about any kind of picture that you can think of. I mean, everything from Polaroids. It goes all the way up to, I believe, 4x6. I don't think it quite goes to 5x7. But
Most of them actually do go to 5x7.
I don't doubt that.
Well, the other thing that I did too is I ordered off of, excuse me, real quick, Archival Methods. I have a lot, and I mean hundreds, of like 2x3 prints, some even smaller than that. So they have propylene, which has no acid in it, sleeves, I mean, like little sealable envelopes that are plastic. And I'm going to be putting some of that stuff and then putting in it, because I don't want all those little tiny ones like being all over the place.
I think you're right. I think this is a Pioneer box.
Peggy,
No, I was just thinking, it just occurred to me when Mary was saying that,
It
even
is.
if you got like, you know, one of those shoebox photo things that are always on sale at Michael's, but then you bought squares of really good archival paper and cut out. I just think that would be cheaper. I'm just looking for, if you've got like a massive amount that you're trying
those
to
Pioneer
archive.
boxes, now this is the last time I bought them, and as we all know, there's shipping problems and everything's going up like crazy. I've gotten 2 of those shoe boxes for less than $20.
Oh,
Okay,
here,
well,
here they're
like
$10.15
40 of them.
for. They're $10.15 for Prime members.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
bad.
right. I
And
mean,
aren't those plastic? It looks plastic, Mary.
No, they're not plastic.
no.
Not
Okay.
these. Not these.
Okay.
And the dividing paper, the dividing cards are acid free as well.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. You could buy a sheet of archival paper at Michael's, cut it in, and yeah, maybe the outside of the box. But you can, when those go on sale at Michael's, you can buy like 4 of them for $10, you know? I don't know.
If you priced archival paper, that's not cheap.
I'm talking about the boxes themselves.
Mm.
But once you buy
Oh.
archival paper, 3x5, think of it as 3x5 cards. I don't know. And one of the reasons why I wanted to listen to what you had to say tonight, because I have so much of it to do. A lot of it is video, 8mm, and I don't know what to do with it. And I want to lose my mind and just throw it out.
Oh,
But
don't do that.
tell
Don't do
me.
that. Don't do that. Contact me before you do that.
I know. I mean, it's enough to like drive me crazy. But that's what in order to alleviate my stress, because we had like the 3-ring binders and it said 1964 on it, and you open it up and every picture, was, I had to take each one of those out, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. It not only didn't fit in my house, I had to find a way to take all of those albums and minimize it. And now what you're saying, Lisa, is okay, now I have to go through those and say, okay, which of those are important to me?
Well, you got to figure out what you want to store. I think people think that once you decide what you're going to do, it's one sort and done.
I know.
That's not happening.
You're right.
I mean, basically, I went through probably 3 sorts. And keep in mind, when I was trying to do all of this, I was trying to keep in mind, okay, I've got to come up with a business plan. What's my workflow? And basically, there's no way out of going through and downsizing and getting rid of stuff in books and scrapbooks and cards and envelopes and God only knows where. You do an initial sort of that. You figure out what you've got. Then you've got to go back after, and this is the sort that you start to do after you figured out how you want it organized. Does it make more sense by person? I thought it did in my particular family, so I started taking my bins and I had people's names out in front of them. Then I realized that, okay, I've got 600 photos of my brother. Now what? I had to go back and do another sort and then do by decade. That made the most sense to me. That's my project. That's how I did it for me.
And you're the only one doing this? You don't have siblings that you want to come over and, hey, let's, have a pop or a tea or a beer and let's go through these and see what's important to us?
My brother thought he was doing it. He did it for his family. And he probably scanned in 10,000 photos and never cleaned a scanner. Yeah.
Oh, my sister did too.
My sister, yeah, well, no.
So you're the Santa Claus of all the pictures, in other words.
Well, I'm the family photographer with all the glory results of that, the glory of that brings, which means.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying. It's become your responsibility. And at one point, you're like, I don't know what the word is, but keep the archive.
Sucker.
What?
Yes, I said sucker.
Right. Well, that's how I feel. Thank you.
Well, I know. And it's, yes, because people don't think that they can throw away photos. Well, that's fine. Well, guess what? Because I told my mom before she passed that her sister, the one who hoarded a bunch of the movies and stuff, I said, listen, I said, she's so improperly stored those movies, I may not be able to do anything with them. I said, unfortunately, I'm the one that ended up with everything. I said, but I'm also going to be the one that's going to have to throw away most of it.
That's how I feel.
So I just tried to throw away as much as I could, as fast as I could. And then started realizing what I had and what I needed to do with it and how I wanted it organized. And now I'm scanning like crazy.
Do you find that you're doing more business doing it for them or teaching them how?
I'd say about 50-50 right now.
Okay. Okay.
The gentleman that I did the book for, he did all of the organizing he gave me the photos to scan, although we talked about what he was going to do with things, and I gave him advice as to how to store everything when he was done with it, and I finished scanning it. But he couldn't have done the book, like he couldn't put together the book. He wrote everything and knew what he wanted to do, but gave it to me to put together the book. I have 2 clients now that both of them have had initial consultations, and one of them's like once a month I'm going to go over to the house and see how she's doing and kind of kick the can, kind of hold her responsible for keeping the project moving.
Do you advise them how to get their thought process in their own tailored version of how they're going to organize so they're not overwhelmed?
Yes. I leave with them smiling.
Well, I'm not going to ask you, it's probably a trade secret, but that's the hardest part, and that's what overwhelms people.
Mhm.
You know, that's what overwhelmed me. You know,
Well, that's the one thing
so
that
much. Where do you start?
the photo organizers have a saying that, don't overwhelm the overwhelmed.
Right.
Basically, we've talked about a lot of things today. Now, when I have an initial consult with people, I try to gauge their technical abilities, what it is that they want to do, how big their mess is. The woman the new client that I went to go see, basically she's in the stage of, I gave her the checklist of places to really take a look to make sure she has everything. What about this? What about that? What about, here's your checklist.
Once you get the tools and the pieces parts in place, then the confidence factor goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
And once you start throwing away after the first sort, and that room full of boxes becomes 10 boxes. And then once those 10 boxes come down to 6 boxes, it kind of feeds on itself. I didn't realize that all the double takes that I gave my mom, she cut. So I kept, I had seas of double takes. So once I started getting, that's why I did those photo boxes for my niece and my nephews. It's like, I hated to throw them all out because they were pictures of them when they were kids and they may not have them. So if I give them, and again, it was called an art bin off of Amazon, and it was like $20 and it was plastic with a handle on it. It's those little things kind of make nice gifts as you're going through and sorting out too.
Peggy, you could give them back to your siblings.
Each one of them is going to get a box with their pictures and their kids' pictures in it.
You know what?
Yeah.
I know.
And some mustaches and horns with Sharpies.
Yeah, you can bet I would do that.
Well, and now because my brother asked, he goes, did you find any genealogy books in the bins? And, as I was sorting stuff, I put everything in one spot, and I'm kind of going through right now. I know if I handed in my family history book, we went out 6 generations. As of today, I can now do 11 generations.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Wow.
Now,
What you should do for them is a little genealogy archive or book.
well, I did do that book,
That's neat.
Amazing.
but now I'm trying to figure out what is there another project? First of all, I just got to get the damn thing done,
Right.
and then
All right.
start.
Don't mean to add on another project.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, think about this, Lisa. No.
I know.
But it's just, part of it is that I'm like going, wow, this is really, it's the family with 6 girls named Mary. What? But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm still going through stuff. Once I finish, I'm taking a break from scanning and trying to compile the genealogy stuff. There's a stack of books about this big that I got to go through, but a couple inches, about 6 inches.
So do you give potential clients like potential lists or potential organizational listings of how they can think about how they want to do their project?
Yes. As I was taking and learning everything I could grab onto from the photo managers and some of their experts. I've got about 30 handout sheets that I can give clients on, a lot of people have never bought an external hard drive. Some people don't know what cloud storage is. Some people don't understand, I have sorting and filing, how you might want to file. These are things to take into consideration, the basic process.
I'm curious as to what your scan, like, is it a flatbed scanner that you're doing, or?
I have several.
Okay, I was just curious because it sounds like you do a lot of scanning.
Well, I've been doing a lot lately.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of your forte in your business.
Yeah, and it is, and I don't mind it. It's just there's been a lot of it, but that's okay. But I'm also finding some really great pictures that my mother, there's one surviving sibling of my mom's, it's her sister, and a lot of this stuff I'm finding at the bottom of the boxes she's never seen before. Like I found this really lovely photo of there's a small lake outside of Tiffin, Ohio called Lake Mohawk, and there's a picture of my grandmother rowing my grandfather fishing.
Aww.
And she's in the boat and she must be about 4.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really not in good shape and I'm really going to have to work at it. But, those are the reasons I do. I found some pictures that I just was like, wow, I've never seen this one before. And I thought I'd seen everything.
Do you have a standard charge for scanning? And because I suspect you look at what you scan and you need to do something with it in Photoshop or whatever tool you use.
It depends on the
how it
person
goes?
and how much stuff they've got. And, sometimes it's better for them for me just to charge by the hour.
Mhm. Yeah, because it depends on your method. Because sometimes you can gang them and gang like pictures.
I have a flatbed that I can gang quite a few small pictures on in a number of slides. I also have this really cool, it's called a flip scanner. They don't make it anymore, but it's only like for as big as this 5x7, and you could pop off the top and turn it upside down on old photo albums. So you didn't have to take the photo albums apart.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love that thing. But it only can scan, 600 DPI. So you're not going to be able to blow much up from it, but you can at least copy it. Because I think now there's probably 6 photo albums, and there's small ones that I'm still going to keep in the family archive. I did not take them apart because I think part of their history is how they were put together.
I agree.
And most of those were, I have my grandfather's baby book from 1904.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's just really cool. And there were pictures that there were missing pictures of my mother from when she was 4 to high school for the most part. And finally, when we were cleaning out her clothes closet, we found a photo album. And it had everything in it, and including somebody in blackface, which I was totally appalled that they got it wasn't my mother in it. But you get all the warts, but.
Put that in the archival box.
Yeah, it's I'm like, well, somebody can open it up and find it in there just like I did and go, oh my God.
I agree with that because some of the things I inherited were it was an old, I don't even know who's in these. They're like my great grandma and prior to that, but it's this beautifully ornate album. I couldn't tear that apart.
And ones that are with a lot of writing on the bottom of it.
What? No, yeah, there's things written all over it, but it's the fact of picking it up and holding it and going, whoa, and then, it's got the little paper edges, the way they put in the photographs
Like
long
I've got my parents'
before they-
wedding album, and honestly, it is so compact that it's not a bad way to store it. So I'm just going to leave that alone.
Right.
So I
Okay.
mean, yeah, not everything needs. Now I will say, here's a trick of the trade. If you've got those magnetic glue things that are a crime against humanity in my book,
Oh, yeah.
those the plastic rip off the top ones and
Oh
stuff.
God,
I
no.
hate
Yeah.
those.
No.
Oh,
No,
God.
no. I know, but what do you do if you've got them in your
Yes,
photos?
They're in there.
You take them out and you put them in a Michael's box in order. You get rid of those because they take up a lot of room
Oh.
and they get ruined and they're icky. Yeah.
Spike, send me Peggy's address so I can ship her a Pioneer box. Well, one of the ways-
Am I driving you crazy?
One of the ways to get here's a helpful tip. One of the ways to get those photos off of the pages
Yeah.
is to use a hair dryer on low
Really?
and unwaxed dental floss.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what you're doing is you're heating up the photo slightly
Okay.
and then just working the dental floss behind it to break the bond.
Okay,
Wow.
now when you're doing that, like when you're like half through the album, do you ever go just go like crazy and just like start ripping pages out?
Oh.
If they're crappy photos that I don't need it, that I don't want, yeah. I
No,
mean,
I'm just saying, so I cannot tell you how many times I was like going through these things going, I think I'm going insane because you know they were like sticking or whatever, and you just were like, okay, nobody needs those.
well, that's one of the things that, you know, people can Google where they've been. They don't need landscapes of da 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 da. Although I won't give rid of my pictures from Santorini, but you know, that's my bailiwick.
Oh.
But yeah, you can. Yeah, it's. If you don't think you want it for the future, then don't keep it.
Well, no, I'm just saying you know, anybody who hasn't like started this process yet, I want it to be very clear. It can be very, very agonizing and annoying when you have album after album to do, or those sticky things and they're like pulling off, and you know, you just really you start to lose your mind and you just want to go, okay, well, nobody
Take it
needs.
a chunk at a time. Take it a chunk at a time, like a couple
Oh,
hours.
I did. It took me
Well, that's
6
the
years.
thing. You don't want to do this for 8 hours a day.
No, God, no.
No, God, no.
No, you'll be hurting somebody.
People want to do it for 3 hours.
No, you'll be hurting somebody at the end of that day.
Yeah, I don't book any more than a
That's
3
usually my
hours sessions with clients because it's too. I can see after about 2.5 hours I'm overwhelmed look, or you know.
I did it for about 4 or 5 hours a day, not every day. Probably, I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 3 days a week.
Oh, I brought up
Last year, and you know, I sat downstairs with very large waste baskets and recycling bins, and I just did this, you know. And for the things that I wanted to keep and organize, I started organizing in the Pioneer boxes. That's how I did it.
smart.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like finishing this up. I mean, I'm starting to see the finish line, and it's like
That's great.
yeah. I mean, but it's taken a long time, and honestly, I would thought I would have been done by now, but I did a lot of work around the house this summer. You know, I redid the kitchen and I'm like, well, I didn't plan on that taking so much time this summer.
Ain't anybody leaning on you for a deadline.
No.
You know, it's your own deal. So, you know, do it at your own pace. But I find that a project like that's so tedious and takes some brain power, you got to be kind of in the mood for it. And I would do, you know, just a few hours at a time, you know, as often as you can. That's the best way to go about it. And if you schedule, like say Monday and Thursday, I'm going to do it from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then you have the whole rest of the day to do other things, work or do whatever else.
Well, that's like with this new client I just saw 2 weeks ago. I was like, she's really jazzed, and she was really excited, and she knew she wanted to, was on her priority list for the winter. And I said, would you like to schedule another appointment? I said, A, it'll keep you accountable, and B, hopefully you're far enough we could start working you into the next phase.
There you go.
And she was perfectly fine with that. And
Perfect. But that's the way not to be overwhelmed, because it's easy. That's why it goes in the back burner for 20 years.
well, it's, I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to going in my basement and not seeing a bin with everybody's names on it going, oh shit, still gotta scan all that stuff. But I'm the stuff that needs to be filed is far less than the stuff that I did. So even now, as I'm going through stuff, as I'm scanning, I'm like, that's not worth it. I'm still pitching,
Right. Are you looking at questions?
I guess I know, Brenda, did your question get answered? I know you had something in the chat. I think it kind of got addressed, but I'm not sure.
I saw it and I did
Yep.
post part of the question. So and then I sent her a message to ask or talk to Lisa directly.
Okay.
And that would be to get, just a sample of lists to get started, so that, you've got something to work with. So you're not like looking at it like, oh my God,
Because I've been doing that. It's a lot, when you have a lot of pictures, and then now having a lot of photos that are digital, that are on my phone, and previous libraries and all of that. And I think this is probably would be more a project for me, and maybe my family might enjoy it, but it's not something that they necessarily are after me or expecting me to do. Part of it is me wanting to preserve parts of my family that I know of, that the grandkids and the great grandkids, they have no idea about. So, and we still have pictures, some Super 8 video. I have some Super 8 video that hasn't been developed yet. It's still in the cartridge.
Wow.
And I know it's all family photos, or family videos, because there was a time that that's what you did. And my dad took all these Super 8 videos, but they had no sound. If you know about Super 8, they didn't have any sound. So it's just videos.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say that now's the time to do it. That, I'm finding as I'm going through these photos that I have no one to ask.
Mhm. Yeah.
Who's in these photos? All I can do, since I've been keeper of some of this stuff and have kind of become familiar with it, that in some cases I'm just taking a wild ass guess.
Yeah.
Where I would rather not be doing that, but I don't have much choice now.
Yeah.
I mean, both my parents passed. I've got 2 aunts that are left on either side of the family, and neither one of them have lived in Tiffin, where my family's from, so they're pretty much useless as far as that is. So
Yeah.
now's the time to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's gonna be the motivation, because again, I'm the second oldest that would know anything about some of the pictures in there. Actually, my sister would know most of that information on a lot of photos, because my grandmother kept them, and she passed away at 100 years old. So she had pictures, and I don't know any of these people that are in any of these photos, but it still, has meaning, at least to me. So my
yeah,
sister would be the only one that would know.
I have photos that for some reason, and I don't know why, are in our photos, but they're kind of cool photos. I've got pictures of people from the 1880s gold mining. I have no idea what the hell that's related to, but I'm figuring if they were in the boxes and stuff, that, you know, there's some reason that they're there. I have a whole category, cool old photos, no ideas. But some of them are just really cool, you know, and it's just like, you know, today when I was working on the genealogy, I feel like my nephew had twin girls in December, and it's like, I feel like I've been doing a history project for them. That someday they're going to be able to take this to school and tell about their family. Because they'll at least know.
All right, so I think I would like to interrupt and kind of wrap up the meeting because I'm looking at, we've been going for quite a while, so it's been a very animated conversation, which has been great. I've enjoyed it. I really appreciate you presenting, Lisa. I think it was like you did a good balance between like the reinventing yourself and the making lemonade out of lemons, but also sharing, you know, letting people talk about organizing their photos. So thank you very much for presenting to us.
Hey,
Thank
Mary,
you.
go. I can't figure out how, or was it Linda that? If anybody's got any questions, go to rescueyourphotos.com and it's got all of my contact information on it. And I can send you PDFs or whatever you know, chat about your project.
So I guess I would like to kind of wrap up the meeting, but I suppose like if people want to stick around, they can, but I think, you know, we could, or just, I think maybe it'd just be better to contact Lisa afterwards. You know, let her have the rest of her evening too, but thank you very much for making a very nice program.
All right. Thanks, guys. CD Pug's always near and dear.
All right, so see you all next month for WordPress.
Henry, you were really quiet.
Yeah. Yep. Unmute yourself, Henry.
We know he's not always quiet, but that's okay. Well, thank you for the honor and the privilege, and go out and start sorting. It can be done. It can.
Oh,
be
I got them into the boxes. That's as far as I've gotten so far.
That's you're farther than I am. I've at least got them scanned and back into the basement. Some of them.
Oh, scanning the whole different project.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I got them organized anyway. That took a while, but it was really great for you to talk about this because I think it's on a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. I'm going to go ahead and leave.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, guys.